Blake & Co. Holdings is my company, Dad. The words leave my lips, and the color drains from my father's face. 12 years of waiting, of building, of planning for this exact moment, I'm finally here. I spread the rental agreement on the coffee table where, 2 decades ago, my college acceptance letters once lay. My mother's hands fly to her mouth, stifling a cry. My brother Michael stands frozen in the doorway, his expression caught between shock and dawning comprehension. You bought our house? My father's voice cracks, the authoritative tone he perfected during 40 years of teaching high school students now reduced to a trembling whisper. I bought the mortgage, I correct him, smoothing my designer blazer purchased with my own money, like everything else in my life. And now I'm offering you the opportunity to become my tenants. The irony isn't lost on me. At 42, I'm now the one with power over the very people who taught me that I needed to stand on my own. My father, who had always valued self-reliance for me, but not for his precious son, and now sits in stunned silence, confronted by the woman I've become precisely because of his lessons. But how did we get here? How did Elizabeth Coleman, once the dutiful daughter, become the landlord to her own parents? It began with a voicemail, 12 years in the making. Flashback, the voicemail. My phone buzzed on my desk, the screen lighting up with Mom for the 5th time this week. I let it go to voicemail, just as I had done with the previous 4 calls. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me, and I played the message. Beth, honey, my mother's voice cracked with desperation. We might lose the house. Can you call me back, please? I deleted it with a swipe, a small smile playing at the corners of my mouth. Karma really is patient. She waited 12 years to deliver this moment. I gazed out the window of my corner office, 35 floors above the city I'd conquer without them. The skyline blurred as I was transported back to our kitchen table, where dreams were supported or crushed based on which child presented them. Flashback, the rejection. Absolutely not, my father said, pushing away the student loan paperwork I'd spent hours meticulously preparing. We're not co-signing anything. You need to learn financial responsibility. I remember the weight of the acceptance letter in my hands. Stanford University, the culmination of years of straight A's, volunteer work, and perfect SAT scores. My hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the effort of containing my rage. Dad, it's only $20,000. I have scholarships covering most of it, I pleaded, pointing to the financial breakdown I'd created. The interest rate is incredible, and I've already mapped out how I'll pay it back. Look at the spreadsheet. My father barely glanced at my calculations. Robert Coleman, respected high school history teacher for nearly 4 decades, believed firmly in his principles that, I would later learn, were selectively applied. Mom hovered nearby, wringing her dish towel, her eyes darting nervously between me and Dad. Carol Coleman, elementary school teacher and eternal peacekeeper, never directly opposed her husband in significant matters. Honey, your father's right, she said softly. What if something happens and you can't pay? We'd be on the hook. We need to think about our retirement. I stared at them, wondering if they could see my dreams crumbling, if they understood what this moment meant. I got into Stanford. This is my future we're talking about. Dad leaned back in his chair, the same chair he now sat in, diminished and gray. Then find a way to fund it yourself, he said firmly. That's what building character is about. His words seared into my brain like a brand. In that moment, I didn't realize they would become the foundation upon which I would build my entire life. Flashback, the double standard. 2 weeks later, I heard screaming from downstairs, not angry screaming, excited screaming. My brother Michael was jumping around the living room, dangling car keys. You're the best parents ever, he shouted, hugging them both. I stood frozen on the stairs, watching Mom snap photos for Facebook. Dad was beaming, his arm around Michael's shoulder. Son, that Audi R8 is going to turn heads at college. Even at 18, I understood what that car symbolized. It wasn't just transportation. It was Dad's vision of his son, his legacy, his pride. Michael had always been the golden child, the boy who would carry on the Coleman name while I was expected to marry and become someone else's responsibility. We'll need you both to sign some paperwork, the dealership representative said, pulling out a thick folder. The loan is for $120,000. My mother didn't even hesitate. Of course, anything for our baby boy's first car. $120,000. 6 times what they refused to guarantee for my education. I must have made a sound because Mom looked up and saw me. Her smile faltered for just a second. Oh, Beth, come down and celebrate with your brother. I walked woodenly down the stairs, my mind spinning with disbelief. You're co-signing his car loan? Well, yes, Dad said, already signing. He needs reliable transportation for college. Michael was attending the local state university, 15 minutes from our house. It's an R8, I said flatly. That's not transportation. That's a status symbol. Michael rolled his eyes. Don't be jealous, sis. Maybe if you weren't so uptight about everything. Elizabeth, Mom cut in, her voice sharp with warning. This is your brother's special moment. Don't ruin it. I watched them sign away 6 figures for my brother's toy while my much smaller education loan paperwork gathered dust in my room. Something inside me hardened that day, like concrete setting around my heart. I'm going to Aunt Sarah's, I announced, grabbing my keys to the used Honda Civic I'd purchased with money saved from 3 years of summer jobs. No. Mom frowned. But we're having a celebration dinner. I made your brother's favorites. I was already walking to the door. I'm sure you did. Dad called after me. Don't be dramatic, Beth. This is different. Your brother has shown he's responsible. Michael had failed 2 classes his senior year and had been arrested once for underage drinking. I had a 4.0 GPA and had never given them a moment's trouble. I turned back one last time. You're right, Dad. This is different. I won't forget how different it is. Flashback the council. Aunt Sarah opened her door, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside her modest but tastefully decorated home. Unlike her younger sister, Sarah had never married, focusing instead on her career as a university professor. Dad always made snide comments about her choosing career over family, but to me, she represented freedom. They did something stupid, didn't they? She asked, putting the kettle on for tea. Sarah never wasted time with pleasantries when emotions were running high. I told her everything, my voice breaking only once. She listened, her face darkening with each detail, occasionally muttering under her breath words I'd never heard her use before. Those idiotic, short-sighted. She finally said after I'd finished. Beth, listen to me. This isn't about you being less worthy. This is about them being blind. They're not blind, I said, my voice hollow. They see exactly what they want to see. And what they see is Michael. They've always seen Michael. Sarah took my hands in hers, her grip firm. I've watched my sister defer to Robert's outdated ideas for decades. He believes sons carry the family name, that daughters eventually belong to someone else's family. It's the same nonsense our father believed. She poured me tea, adding, Carol was the obedient daughter who married her high school sweetheart. I was the rebellious one who went to college and never looked back. History repeats itself, but you don't have to be part of that cycle. What am I supposed to do now? I asked. I can't afford Stanford without their help. Sarah's eyes narrowed with determination. You'll find a way. And when you do, you'll show them what they're missing. Make them regret every double standard, every dismissal, every time they chose him over you. Success is the best revenge. I nodded slowly, something cold and determined settling in my chest. I'm never asking them for anything again, ever. Good, she said firmly. Because you won't need to. Present day the plan. Now, 12 years later, I stared at my phone as another voicemail notification popped up. Mom again, probably. The universe has a twisted sense of humor. They were about to lose their house because they co-signed Michael's car loan, and now they wanted my help. I picked up my phone and dialed, not my parents' number, but my lawyer's. David, I said when he answered, remember that conversation we had about real estate opportunities? I think I found one. How do you feel about handling a foreclosure purchase? He was silent for a moment. Whose foreclosure are we talking about? My parent. Flashback the struggle. The fluorescent lights of the campus library buzzed overhead as I jolted awake, my face stuck to my economics textbook. 3 jobs plus a full course load meant sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford at the small state college I'd managed to cobble together funding for not Stanford, but a starting point. Girl, you look rough, Maria, my coworker from the campus coffee shop whispered as she sat down with an espresso. Double shot on the house. You're an angel, I mumbled, peeling a sticky note from my cheek. My phone buzzed. Another Instagram notification from Michael. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. There he was, posed against his R8 at some beach party. Caption: living my best life. Blessed and thankful for parents. That's your brother? Maria peered over my shoulder. Damn, must be nice. Must be, I echoed, closing the app and pulling up my scholarship applications. I had 17 pending and 32 rejection letters. Each no felt like another brick in the wall between me and graduation. My phone rang. Aunt Sarah. How's the hustle? She asked without preamble. I'm alive, barely. I rubbed my eyes. Got promoted at the diner. Extra 50 cents an hour. That's something. Listen, I met someone you need to know. Her name's Victoria, and she's starting a tech consulting firm. She needs a part-time assistant who understands business analytics. I straightened up. I'm listening. It pays better than the diner, and it's actual experience. I told her about your situation. She wants to meet you. Flashback the mentor. 2 days later, I sat across from Victoria in a sleek downtown office. She was in her early 40s then, with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. A framed photo on her desk showed her with a teenage daughter, a single mother, I would later learn, who had built her business while raising her child alone. Your aunt says you're working 3 jobs while maintaining a 4.0 GPA, she said, reviewing my resume. That's impressive. Also, insane. Insanity pays the bills, I replied. Most of them, anyway. She smiled. I like you. Here's the deal. I need someone hungry. Someone who understands that success isn't given, it's taken. That sounded familiar as I thought about Michael's Instagram, about my parents' signatures on his loan. Very familiar, I said. 20 hours a week, flexible around your classes, better pay than your other jobs combined. Plus, I'll teach you everything I know about building a business from scratch. When can you start? Victoria became more than a boss. She became my mentor, the mother figure I craved. While Michael posted photos of spring break trips and car shows, I learned about market analysis, client acquisition, and the art of strategic planning. One night, working late, Victoria found me crying over my laptop. What happened? She asked, pulling up a chair. I showed her the email from my parents. They needed money for car repairs. Apparently, the R8 needed specialized maintenance. The same week, I'd had to choose between textbooks and groceries. Your parents, Victoria said slowly, are investing in the wrong child. They don't see it that way. They never will. She closed my laptop. Then make them see. Not now. You're not ready yet, but someday they'll need something from you. That's when you'll show them exactly what they overlook. How can you be so sure? Because entitled people always crash eventually, and when they do, they look for safety nets. She smiled grimly. Be too high for them to reach when that happens. Flashback the success. Months turned into years. I graduated summa cum laude, juggling honors classes with my work for Victoria. Michael dropped out after 2 years. Car racing wasn't an acceptable major, apparently. My parents never asked how I managed it. They were too busy dealing with Michael's temporary setbacks. I was at my desk at Victoria's firm, now partly mine after she'd made me partner, when Aunt Sarah called. Check your email, she said without greeting. Just got this from your sister. I opened the forwarded message. It was a group email to extended family, trying to be casual but screaming desperation between the lines. They were considering downsizing and exploring options for their house. What happened? I asked, although I already knew. Michael defaulted on the car loan. Turns out there was a clause in their mortgage about additional debt obligations. They're in pre-foreclosure, but they're too proud to admit it publicly. I leaned back in my chair, thinking about all those nights in the library, all those double shifts, all those scholarship rejections. That's terrible, I said, my voice neutral. Someone should really help them. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Elizabeth, what are you thinking? I opened my investment portfolio and started calculating. I'm thinking it's time to diversify into real estate. You're not serious. Oh, but I am. I smiled, remembering Victoria's words about safety nets. They taught me to be self-reliant after all. I'm just following their example. Present the strategy. You want to do what? David leaned forward across his desk, eyebrows raised. My lawyer wasn't easily surprised, but this had done it. I want to buy my parents' house without them knowing it's me. I laid out the pre-foreclosure documents Sarah had forwarded. He studied the papers, then looked up at me with those shrewd eyes that had seen 25 years of family drama in his law practice. This is about more than real estate, isn't it? Does that matter legally? No. Emotionally, that's your call. He pulled out a notepad. Tell me about the numbers. I outlined what I'd found. The outstanding car loan was substantial, but the real problem was how it triggered clauses in their mortgage. My parents had refinanced multiple times over the years, probably to help Michael with his temporary financial needs. They're underwater, David confirmed, reviewing the figures. Bank's moving fast too. Someone there must be annoyed. Can we move faster? He nodded slowly. I know a real estate agent, Alex. He specializes in discrete transactions. We can set up an LLC, something generic like Blake & Co. Holdings, and have him act as our proxy. My phone buzzed. Another Instagram notification. I checked it reflexively, then froze. What? David asked. I showed him Michael's latest post. His precious R8, hood crumpled, being loaded onto a tow truck. Caption. Bad times don't last. Coming back stronger. Hash blessed family. Looks like the repo men finally caught up with him, David mused. That'll accelerate things with the house. Good. I put my phone away. How quickly can we move? Give me 48 hours to set up the LC. Then Alex can start negotiations with the bank. He paused. You know, once this is done, you'll be their landlord. Poetic, isn't it? Back at my office, Victoria was waiting. How'd it go with David? It's happening. I sank into my chair. Am I crazy for doing this? She perched on my desk. Remember when you first started working for me? You were so hungry to learn, to succeed. Meanwhile, your brother was joyriding in a car that cost more than your entire education. Hard to forget. Your parents created this situation. They chose favorites, played games with money, and now karma's calling. She squeezed my shoulder. You're just the collection agent. Confrontation the call. My phone rang. Mom again. This time, I answered. Elizabeth, finally. I've been trying to reach you. I've been busy, Mom. Running a company takes time. Of course, honey. Listen. She hesitated. We're having some financial difficulties. Nothing serious, but your father and I might need to make some changes with the house. I kept my voice neutral. What kind of changes? Well, we might need to sell. Unless. I mean, you're doing so well now. The familiar pattern asserted itself. When Michael needed something, they moved heaven and earth. When I needed something, I needed to learn responsibility. Are you asking me for money, Mom? Silence. We wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. Like my education was important? Elizabeth, that's not fair. We were teaching you responsibility. And now I'm very responsible. Is that all? She sighed. You're still angry about college, aren't you? No, Mom. I'm not angry. I'm successful. Isn't that what you wanted? After hanging up, I called Alex. He answered on the first ring. The bank's receptive, he said. They want to avoid a messy foreclosure. I can have preliminary paperwork drawn up by tomorrow. Perfect. Remember, complete confidentiality. I know. The LC's name will be the only thing they see. Reflection the toast. That night, Aunt Sarah came over with wine. We sat on my balcony overlooking the city. Your mother called me, she said, crying about how ungrateful you are. I snorted. Of course, she did. You're punishing them for old decisions. No. I swirled my wine, watching the light catch in the ruby liquid. I'm just letting those decisions play out. Sarah's phone chimed. She checked it and burst out laughing. What? She showed me Michael's newest post. Sometimes you need family more than pride. Thanks mom and dad for always having my back, blessed #family #new beginnings. He has no idea, does he? I mused. That his blessed family is about to lose their house because of his car loan. None of them do. Sarah raised her glass. To karma. To karma, I echoed. And to teaching responsibility. My phone lit up with an email from David. I'll see established. Alex making initial offer tomorrow. You're officially in the landlord business. I smiled, remembering all those nights I laid awake wondering if I'd make rent while Michael slept soundly under our parents' roof. Don't worry, little brother, I murmured. You'll still have a roof over your head. It'll just be mine. Present the confrontation. I pulled into my parents' driveway on a Sunday afternoon, noting how the once pristine lawn had grown patchy and unkempt. The garage door was closed. No sign of Michael's precious R8. Funny how things change. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Elizabeth, what a surprise. Her smile was too bright, too forced. We were just talking about you. The house smelled like her stress baking cinnamon and desperation. Dad sat in his recliner pretending to read the newspaper. He looked older, grayer. Just thought I'd check in, I said, settling onto the couch. See how everyone's doing. Oh, we're. Mom's voice wavered. We're managing. Would you like some coffee? Sure. I watched her scurry to the kitchen, hands shaking slightly as she poured. Where's Michael? Dad's newspaper crinkled. He's between opportunities right now. That's one way to put it. A voice came from the stairs. Michael appeared, unshaven and wearing sweatpants. Hey sis. Looking fancy as usual. I smoothed my designer blazer. Looking comfortable as usual, brother. Mom returned with coffee, hovering anxiously between us. Isn't this nice? All of us together. Super nice, Michael muttered. Almost like a family meeting. Speaking of which, he glanced at our parents. Dad finally lowered his newspaper. Elizabeth, honey, since you're here, there's something we should discuss. We're having some temporary difficulties. Mom jumped in. Just a small setback. Small? Michael laughed harshly. The bank's breathing down our necks. Mom, stop sugarcoating it. I sipped my coffee. What happened? The economy? Dad said quickly. Market fluctuations. You know how it is. And the car, Michael added. That damn car. Mom shot him a warning look. It's just a perfect storm of circumstances, but we'll figure something out. God willing, someone in the family will help save this house. I met her gaze steadily. Someone in the family? Well, she twisted her hands. You've done so well for yourself, honey. And family helps family, like when? Like when I needed help for college? Dad's face darkened. That was different. We were teaching you responsibility. I remember. I finished. How's that working out? Michael stood up. Look, I know I messed up, okay? The car, the loan, I get it. I've been humbled, but Mom and Dad don't deserve to lose their house because of me. No, I set down my cup. They just deserve to co-sign a 6-figure loan for your toy while telling me to figure out my education alone. You were always the strong one, he exploded. The smart one. You didn't need help. I didn't need help. I stood too, years of suppressed rage bubbling up. I worked 3 jobs. I lived on ramen. I cried myself to sleep wondering if I'd have to drop out while you posted pictures of beach parties with your luxury car. Elizabeth, please. Mom stepped between us. What's done is done. We're just asking if you can help now. Help how, exactly? What do you need? They exchanged glances. Dad cleared his throat. The bank. They're saying we have 6 weeks unless we can come up with the money. How much? More glances. Finally, Dad named a figure that made Mom wince. I pulled out my phone, made a show of checking my accounts. That's a lot. We know it's asking much, Mom said quickly. But we could set up a payment plan once Michael finds a new job. I've got prospects, Michael interrupted. Solid ones? Like the last 5 solid prospects. I asked sweetly. Dad stood up. If you're just here to judge us, no, I smiled. I'm here to help. I'll write you a check right now. Their faces lit up until I named the amount. That's not nearly enough, Mom said carefully. It's for a good lawyer, I replied, writing the check. You'll need one. Elizabeth, Dad's voice rose. This isn't a joke. No, it's not. It's a lesson in responsibility. I gathered my things. Call it karma if you like. So that's it. Michael called after me. You're just going to let them lose everything? I paused at the door, thinking about the LC paperwork sitting on David's desk, about the wheels already in motion. Don't worry, I said softly. Everything is going exactly where it needs to go. Mom started crying as I left. Dad just stared out the window. Michael kicked a wall. In my car, I called David. How's our timeline looking? Bank's processing the offer. Should be finalized next week. Perfect. I looked back at the house. My future house. They have no idea what's coming. That's the point, isn't it? I started the engine. That's exactly the point. Climax the revelation. The bank's formal notice arrived on my desk via courier, crisp, official, and deliciously final. Through my LC, I now own their mortgage. In 6 weeks, I'd own their house. My office phone lit up. Mom's number. Elizabeth. Her voice was raw. Have you? Have you checked your mail today? I'm at work, Mom. Why? We got a letter from the bank, she sniffled. They're moving forward with foreclosure. 6 weeks. I examined my manicure, the one I'd paid for myself, like everything else in my life. That sounds serious. It's more than serious. We'll be homeless. Her composure cracked. Please, honey. We know you're doing well now. We wouldn't ask unless we had to. Like I wouldn't have asked for help unless I had to? Silence. Then how long are you going to punish us for that? I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just letting you experience the value of self-reliance. We're your parents. Exactly. And parents are supposed to help their children. Funny how that only worked one way in our family. She started crying harder. I ended the call and buzzed my assistant. Hold all calls from my family, please. An hour later, Victoria walked in. Your brother's in the lobby. What? Security called up. He's demanding to see you. I sighed. Send him up. Michael burst in looking worse than before. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wearing the same sweatpants. You have to help them, he said without preamble. I don't have to do anything. They're going to lose everything. He paced my office. Their home, their dignity. Like I almost lost my education? That was different. I was young, stupid, and I wasn't. I stood up. I was 18, Michael. I had dreams. But my dreams didn't matter because they weren't wrapped in a shiny Audi bow. He slumped into a chair. I know I messed up. The car, the loan. I should have been more responsible. Yes, you should have. But they shouldn't have enabled you. So this is revenge. Making them suffer because they spoiled me? No. I walked to my window overlooking the city I'd conquered without their help. This is consequences. They made their choices. Now they get to live with them. They're broke, Elizabeth. They'll have nowhere to go. I turned back. There's always somewhere to go. I managed, didn't I? He stood up, desperate now. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. We all are. I don't want anything from you. Not anymore. Security escorted him out. I called David. Your brother just left my office, he said before I could speak. Tried to convince me to talk sense into you. And I told him I only talk business sense. Speaking of which, Alex is finalizing the paperwork. Once the 6 weeks are up, the house is yours. I smiled. Any way to speed that up? Could push for immediate possession if they're in breach of other terms. Want me to look? No. Let them sweat it out. Resolution the reveal. We return to where we began. The living room. The rental agreement. My family's shocked faces as they realize what I've done. Blake and Co. Holdings, I say clearly, is my company. Dad sinks into his recliner. You bought our mortgage? I bought the house, I correct him. And now I'm offering you a chance to stay as tenants. Mom starts crying. Our own daughter. How could you? How could I? I stand up, years of suppressed anger finally breaking free. How could you sign away a fortune for Michael's car while telling me to figure out college alone? How could you watch me work myself to exhaustion while he partied? How could you post about his achievements while ignoring mine? We were trying to teach you responsibility. Dad shouts. No, you were playing favorites. And now, I gesture around the room. Now you get to see exactly what responsibility looks like. By making us pay rent to our own child? Mom's voice is bitter. By making you live with your choices. I point to the agreement. Market rate standard terms. Very responsible, don't you think? Dad picks up the papers with shaking hands. And if we refuse? Then you have 30 days to vacate. I hear there are some nice apartments across town within your budget. Probably. This is revenge, Mom says quietly. No, Mom. This is karma. Remember when you told me I needed to stand on my own? Well, I did. And now I own the roof over your head. The front door opens. Michael walks in, stopping short when he sees us. It's done? He asks. I nod. Your parents were just reviewing their rental agreement. He looks at the papers, then at our parents. Sign it. Mom gasps. Sign it, he repeats. We deserve this. All of it. Dad throws down the papers. How can you say that? We gave you everything. Exactly. Michael shouts. You gave me everything and her nothing. And look what happened, she succeeded despite you, while I failed because of you. Silence falls. Mom sinks onto the couch, tears streaming down her face. Dad stares at the floor. I pick up the rental agreement. You have 24 hours to decide. Sign and stay, or don't and leave. Very simple. Very responsible. Elizabeth, Mom reaches for my hand. I pull away. 24 hours, I repeat. I'll have my lawyer collect your decision tomorrow. Walking to my car, I hear footsteps behind me. Michael. That was intense, he says. That was necessary, he nods. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For everything. I know. I open my car door. But this isn't about you anymore. It's about them finally understanding what they did. And after they sign, I look back at the house, my house now. Then they'll learn what it feels like to depend on someone else's mercy, just like I did. Will you show them any? That depends on them. But first, they need to learn their lesson. As I drive away, I see Mom watching from the window, Dad holding her shoulders. They look small, defeated, just like I felt all those years ago. Epilogue of the trust. David hands me the signed rental agreement, his expression amused. They didn't even try to negotiate terms. Of course not. I trace my parents' signatures. They finally understand they're not in control anymore. My phone buzzes. Aunt Sarah. They're moving Michael's things into the garage apartment, she reports. Your mother's been crying all morning. Good. Let them feel it. That evening, I drive to the house, my house, for the first official rent collection. Mom answers the door, her eyes red but her spine straight. Come in, she says quietly. Your father's getting the check. The living room feels different. Family photos have been taken down, leaving pale rectangles on the walls. The space feels hollow, like their pride. Dad emerges from his study, envelope in hand. Here, he tries to sound businesslike, but his voice cracks. First month's rent as agreed. I take the envelope without opening it. Thank you. Very responsible. Is this how it's going to be now? Mom asks. Cold business transactions between mother and daughter? No. I settle onto the couch. This is where you both sit down and finally hear what I have to say. They exchange glances, then sit. For 24 years, I begin. I watched you pour everything into Michael while treating me like an afterthought. When I needed you most, you chose to teach me a lesson instead of helping me. I pause, feeling the weight of decades of resentment. The day Dad refused to help with my education wasn't the beginning, it was just the culmination of a lifetime of small preferences. Of Michael needs it more, and you're the strong one, you'll figure it out. But here's what you really taught me. I pull out my phone, showing them my company's latest valuation. Their eyes widen. You taught me that I couldn't count on anyone but myself. That family support was conditional on being the favorite child. That my dreams mattered less than Michael's toys. We never meant, Mom starts. Let her finish, Dad says softly, a new tone in his voice. So I built this, I continue. Every dollar, every deal, every success, I did it alone. And now, I gesture around the room. Now you get to experience exactly what that feels like. By becoming our landlord, Mom's voice is bitter. By showing you what real parental support looks like. I pull out another document. This is a trust agreement. Every rent payment you make goes into an education fund for Michael's future kids, or yours if you ever have more. They stare at me. You see, I stand up. I'm not just teaching you about consequences. I'm teaching you about legacy, about investing in the next generation properly. Why? Dad asks. Why not just take the house and be done with it? Because someone in this family needs to break the cycle. Someone needs to show what real responsibility looks like. Footsteps on the stairs. Michael appears, carrying moving boxes. Did you tell them? He asks. Tell us what? I look between them. The trust isn't just for future education, Michael says. It's also funding my night classes. I'm going back to school for real this time. Dad's hands tremble. Elizabeth, we were wrong. About everything. I know. I walk to the window, looking out at the driveway where Michael's R8 used to gleam. But admitting it isn't enough. You need to feel it. Every month when you write that rent check, you'll remember how it felt to deny your daughter help while indulging your son. And then? Mom asks quietly. And then maybe you'll finally understand what real parental love looks like. Not enabling, not favoritism, just pure, unconditional support. I turn back to them. I'm not evicting you. I'm not even charging you above market rate. I'm just making you face your choices every single month. Michael sets down his boxes. She's being kinder than we deserve. No, I correct him. I'm being exactly as kind as a parent should be. Firm but fair, supporting growth, not enabling destruction. Mom starts crying again, but differently this time. Dad just nods, understanding finally settling into his features. The rent's due on the 1st, I say, walking to the door. The trust documents need your signatures by Friday. Very simple. Very responsible. Elizabeth, Dad calls after me. We're proud of you. We should have said that years ago. I pause at the door. Prove it. Not with words, with actions. Every month, with every check. Prove that you've learned what real family support means. Driving home, I call Aunt Sarah. How did it go? They signed. They cried. They apologized. And how do you feel? I think about the trust agreement, about Michael's night classes, about the look of revelation in my parents' eyes. I feel. I smile, watching the city lights blur past. I feel like I finally taught them something valuable about responsibility. Funny how that works out, she says. Yes, I agree, thinking of all those years of struggle that led to this moment. Funny how they taught me self-reliance, and I just returned the favor with interest. As I drive through the night, I realize that the hardened concrete around my heart is finally beginning to crack. Not because I've forgiven them, not yet, but because I've taken back my power. They no longer have the ability to hurt me. I own the hurt now, and I'm transforming it into something better. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success, it's using that success to teach the very lessons they failed to understand. And sometimes, just sometimes, it creates the possibility of healing what was broken long ago.